The SGPN Fantasy Football Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Shady Rays. SGPN is teaming up with Shady Rays for Shady May. Get 50% off your Shady Rays using promo code SGPN and then go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/shady for your chance to win $500. We're also brought to you by our Kentucky Derby contest. Winners get a $100 SGPN gift card exclusively on the SGPN app. All right, everybody. That's like an espresso shot right there. That little electronic disco music to start off the show. I love it. I am Emerson Beery, joined by Justin Bruni, our chief and editor. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm a little tired this Sunday morning, but I'm ready to rough it out here. Get into some mock draft talk. It's rookie draft season. I've got a couple of drafts well in full swing here, so excited to come in and talk to you about some mocking.
Oh man, yeah. Dynasty rookie drafts are already in full swing. I'm scrambling. In 25 dynasty leagues, this is honestly my worst. This is the worst time of year. I'm always just sitting there, just like I'm just checking back my phone. Right now, I'm sure I'm on the clock somewhere. They are, some of them are wrapping up, luckily. So, but it's been a hectic week with all of that as well. With that in mind, though, I know there are still people with a lot of rookie drafts coming up, them going on still. This will help you. We're going to do a one quarterback rookie mock draft today. This will help you value those rookies as well for trades and everything like that. We'll do some landing spot and prospect analysis as well. So we'll jump right into it. We were talking before the show. You were a little tired, so I'm going to let you get the easy decision. Why you were taking Bijan Robinson with the first pick.
Appreciate that. I love how we go back and forth with these mocks and who gets Bijan. It's always lovely. Easiest bit of information on Bijan is he's got the clearest path to 300 touches in this draft class. He's going to get used a lot by the Atlanta Falcons. They obviously use a very high draft capital on him. Despite Jahmyr Gibbs going within a handful of picks after him, I'm still considering Bijan obviously the number one RB and prospect out of this class, not just in the NFL, but in Dynasty as well. Again, very good situation for him. They don't have a quarterback to lean on. The entire offense will lean on Bijan Robinson. He's got a great frame for running downhill and getting that usage in the red zone and catching passes out of the backfield. So he has a lot of likability, a lot of perceived volume, like I said, coming his way. Keep it simple here. Bijan 101.
If you got a little feedback there, I was just trying to give you a little retweet from my own Twitter account while you were talking there. And of course, I just jumped right into our own live stream there. So it gave us a little extra view there too. But yes, Bijan Robinson. I will have a little funny story for people. I'm in 25 dynasty leagues. So there was a dynasty league. I had Christmas come early. I got Bijan Robinson with the third pick. That's pick.
Criminal.
I was just like, what? I just like walked in. I was like, I had to look. I was looking at it like this can't be right. I kept looking at it like refreshing. I exited out of the app. I got back onto the sleeper app.
Did you look at the teams that had passed him up? Like, were they not running back hungry?
Oh man,
or did they just make a mistake?
I think they felt, some people feel like the running back is, if you're a rebuilding team and you're not going to compete this year, why would you take the running back? But that does not make any sense to me at all. Even if you feel that way, you take Bijan Robinson for the value. When you're starting with a dynasty team, the best thing, how to build a contender, to build a consistent contender, you build value on your roster. It's like a stock. That's how you should be treating it. You want to build your investments. You want to build your capital. That's a better way of putting it, your capital. So Bijan Robinson worth far, far more than any of the quarterbacks in this class. If you want a quarterback, you draft Bijan and then you go shopping for that quarterback. With Bijan, you get that quarterback and then some for Bijan Robinson. So
yeah, you get a quarterback and another 101 coming up probably.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a big mistake, and I couldn't have been more stoked. Like I said, it was one random occurrence. I saw one other occasion where Bijan Robinson went 2 overall across the dynasty league. So they're out of 25 leagues or so. Twice I didn't see that, but 104 forced tackles missed. It's hard. I can't, you know what I mean? That's the most since the stat's been reported. So Bijan Robinson, the clear 1-1. Don't think about it. It is, you know, even if you are quarterback needy, go shopping for that quarterback with Bijan Robinson. With the second pick, though, you know, this is where we go. This is where we goes a little back and forth. I am taking Anthony Richardson. Give me the upside. We got exactly what we needed last week. Oh, I'm sorry. You're doing one quarterback. I'm jumping.
Yeah, I was like, pal, what are we doing here? Like, what happened?
God. See, I start jumping into my tangents. I do super flex leagues. See, I'm in all super flex leagues. And I do these.
Your balls drop off.
What happened?
Oh, okay. I was just setting it up for that. This is why I shouldn't bartend and then jump into these early morning podcasts. See, that's just me going on a super flex tangent. See, you got to yell at me when I do things like
Sorry.
that.
I mean, I was about to, but you kept going, and I was just like, all right, maybe he's all in. Like, I don't know, like super needy at the position. I don't know.
Honing in one quarterback vibes. Jahmyr Gibbs.
There it is.
This is the second spot, is what I meant to say.
I was writing Gibbs, and then I had to scratch him because
back into it. All right. So give myself a couple slaps in the face here. Jahmyr Gibbs is the second pick in this one quarterback dynasty rookie mock draft. I was shocked by the draft capital. Number 12 overall, the Detroit Lions clearly love him. We didn't like the landing spot at first. It was just like DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery. Now we are right back into it. DeAndre Swift traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, I'm not as high as Jahmyr Gibbs as some people. You know, that passing down kind of back can be a little bit more inconsistent than some might think. But I mean, the Lions clearly have plans for him, you know, throwing positional value out the window. So and he's incredible athlete, 44 receptions, 440 yards last year. I think you clearly take the running back over a more saturated wide receiver position. What are your thoughts?
Well, the reason why I want to take him is I am very comfortable with Detroit just using him. I mean, when I was coming into the draft, the sentiment that I was getting was that Detroit was actually going to take Bijan at 6. That was originally going to be their plan. That was my thought, and that they were actually going to trade DeAndre Swift either on day 1 or day 2, because there was all this talk that they were targeting a running back. If that's the case, early in the draft, it's got to be Bijan. Like, there's no way it could be Jahmyr Gibbs. Obviously, Detroit comes out, shocks us. They had Jahmyr Gibbs. Now it's going to be him and David Montgomery. And if you look how that backfield was utilized last year between Swift and Jamal Williams, there was a lot of give and take from both sides. So I expect both of these running backs to be used quite a bit. The Detroit Lions are going to be missing Jameson Williams early on in the season. I'm expecting Jahmyr Gibbs to get some very early, very friendly PPR volume in this season. So I'm excited about his usage. The only, I say, deterrent of him early on with David Montgomery being there is just maybe a little bit less exposure to touchdowns in the red zone, because David Montgomery is a bit of a physical runner. He's got a great frame for the position, especially for getting that red zone usage. So, well, I do expect quite a bit from Gibbs in his year 1 and year 2, definitely worth this 102 draft stock. I do see there being some downside to him just a little bit, similar to what we saw in Swift, but obviously they have a little bit of that decommitment because they're moving on to a rookie, albeit a rookie that they did just use a ton of draft capital on. So, while I do see him getting a lot of touches to meet that capital, I also feel that is kind of like just the con of the situation, right? Like just the kind of the minor setback for now in year 1 with the Lions.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think that, you could see some ball. Like I said, I think the pass catch, if he's just going to be a pass catching back, you could see some back and forth with that, a little bit of up and down fantasy performances, but we'll see. I love the draft capital. Makes me very excited to draft him at the 2 spot. Before we jump into your third pick here, I just want to give one more shout out to our friend over at Shady Rays. Shady Rays is teaming up with SGPN for Shady May. Not only do you get an amazing 50% off, but you also have a chance to win $500. Shady Rays have you covered from the sun to the slopes with premium polarized shades, customizable snow goggles, and much more. That's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection for all eyewear too. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you don't love them, exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays. Their team always has your back. Go to shadyrays.com and use code SGPN for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Then take your receipt to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/shady for your chance to win the $500 Shady May contest. All right. Where are you headed with the third pick in this draft, Justin?
Keeping it clean, keeping it simple. Jackson Smith and Njigba, baby. JSN.
All right. Keeping it chalky. All right. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I still just don't have enough from these other receivers to pole vault them ahead of them. I still
Mhm.
think that everyone kind of landed in some cloudy situations in this receiver class. So with JSN, I'm just going with the highest upside. And honestly, I really like what I'm seeing from this potential upcoming Seattle Seahawks offense. And I think he's going to fit in very nicely in a situation where he's not going to demand a ton of coverage from defenses. I feel like he's going to be able to fit in to a game plan where he's getting 6 to 7 targets a game, probably at least 4 to 5 catches, and anywhere from 60 to 75 plus yards, because he's going to get drawn up in space. They're going to be able to get creative with the playbook. And if you do see an injury, if you see a domino fall in a Tyler Lockett, in a DK Metcalf, or either of those running backs in Walker or Charbonnet, you're going to see an uptick in usage. And I think that he could be a very favorable play towards the end of the year, at least where you're just having more confidence to start him week in and week out, because it does feel like each of these receivers, this start the year, they're probably all going to have that boom or bust feeling out of the gate, right? But I still think that JSN holds the safest floor of this group.
That would be my pick as well. I think the landing spot, you bet on talent over landing spot. And, I don't love it with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't see Geno Smith as a particularly prolific passer, although, if he continues what he did last year, then I could be proved wrong. And you have Tyler Lockett, you have DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett could be moving on as early as next season, though.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you have Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker too. So they're going to be run heavy too. So he might not jump out of the gate super hot, but I expect him to be a long-term contributor in this league. Somebody that you're going to be happy to make being a starter for your dynasty team for a long time, although you might not see that ceiling right away. So with the fourth pick, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. I am going to go with Jordan Addison here.
Okay.
I've been going back and forth a little bit, but I am going to take what I think is probably the second highest skill, maybe even the best receiver today in this year's draft. He maybe doesn't have the highest potential, but this is a player who had over 20% target share his first 2 seasons at Pittsburgh with Kenny Pickett. He had nearly 1,600 receiving yards as a sophomore. Took a step back as a junior at USC, where he struggled with a little bit of injuries and scheme fit. But, like I said, he's a route running technician, not a supreme athlete, first percentile size adjusted athletic score at the NFL Combine. But you see it on tape. He doesn't need that to gain separation on his routes. I think he steps in right away with a very high floor and a high volume passing offense. Going to be probably the third target behind Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson a lot of weeks, but that still should have some value. I think you're going to see some wide receiver 3 weeks right away. Class does not have the juice I thought it would with this fourth pick, but another player going to be a long-term contributor for your dynasty team, I think.
Yeah, slides into a great landing spot in Minnesota. Obviously, they have the need for the wide receiver too. We were talking about this, for a heavy portion of the offseason. What are they going to do? Are they going to draft a guy? Are they going to make a move, whether it be high end like a D Hop or a low end like a Juju Smith-Schuster? No, they settled in the draft for Jordan Addison, and I think that we need to like it for dynasty for sure. He's going to come in and has a clear path to start week 1. Like I said, I think all these guys, including Addison, still feel like boom or bust to start the season. But again, you start to see some dominoes fall. Maybe Dalvin Cook gets moved, sometime in the next few weeks or so. We're going to feel a little bit more confident about him then. This offense, just in general, passes the ball a lot under Kevin O'Connell. So I think there's some good vibes here for Jordan Addison. It's a good situation. I really wouldn't hate someone taking him over JSN if they're really just that desperate for year 1 production. But I do still think that JSN has the safer floor long-term career-wise.
I agree with that. I don't think there's any argument for that top wide receiver position. So we'll kick it over to you. Where are you headed with the 5th pick?
Going with Quentin Johnston. I don't love the year 1 potential just because of how crowded this skill room is with the Chargers. Obviously, you still have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. They drafted Josh Palmer recently. They still have Eckler, despite trade rumors, despite him requesting a trade. I still feel like he's going to wind up being a Charger this upcoming season. So where he could be boom or bust or be middled in this group this season, I love Quentin Johnston as far as a 3 or 4 year window, because I think year 2 plus is going to be very, very beneficial for Quentin Johnston drafters. You may just not see it right away because, again, this is a very, very crowded skill group with the Chargers. However, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams have not been the epitome of clean health and staying on the field. So, if you get an injury early on, yeah, Johnston could wind up again being the top receiver in this class this year. But he is the best year 2+ option, in my opinion, just because I think he fits well with that offense. High range of outcomes with Justin Herbert as his quarterback. I think it's a good situation, but year 1, you may just be, holding a pail, waiting for the milk to come.
Quentin Johnston might have the highest ceiling in this class. Has that size that isn't, is rare in this class with a lot of smaller wide receivers. Doesn't necessarily play to that very poor contested catch rate against softer Big 12 coverage, but you like the draft capital. He was drafted ahead of Jordan Addison, and you love the landing spot with the Los Angeles Chargers. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, oft injured wide receivers who could miss time this season. They could be gone one or both of them could be gone as early as 2024. So Quentin Johnston's tied to Justin Herbert for the long term. I don't think, he doesn't have a particularly high floor. Like I said, I don't, you could see as opposed to Jordan Addison and JSN, I think there's a much more likely outcome where just Quentin Johnston busts and but like I said, if anybody was going to be a consistent perennial top 10, 12 receiver in this class, I do think it may be Quentin Johnston just because he has that size that you're looking for. Go ahead.
I hope he doesn't bust this season, but he could look like that come the end of the year. If all of these guys stay healthy, and you're going back and forth with Josh Palmer getting snaps. I mean, Palmer's been in this offense now another year over him. So, I still feel like if everything is clicking for this offense, you could see a season where he just does very little to nothing. Where, yeah, maybe he has a couple of decent weeks, but, where you're spending a top asset in Dynasty, you might be, looking to, be at the bottom of the pool again for next year's draft.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been going back and forth. I almost took him with the 4th pick. So that was my trepidation. That's who I almost took there.
Were you a wide receiver hungry though? Do you need a receiver today?
I just don't think that there's anybody else to take. You can't go any other position than wide receiver in a 1 quarterback league here. I don't think, I just don't think you can justify it. You take the 1st round wide receiver with not great, not any running backs with strong round 2 draft capital or a landing spot, Zach Charbonnet. So those would have been my picks there. And I've been going a little bit back and forth. Before I give you my 6th pick though, I'm going to give one more shout out to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. We are also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Best Ball Mania 4 is here, and Underdog Fantasy is giving away $15 million in prizes, plus plenty of ways to win with NBA, NHL, and MLB with their player prop parlays. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com and use promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. It's also Kentucky Derby time. It's Kentucky Derby week and Notorious OTB, brought to you by the Sports Gambling Podcast Network for all your Triple Crown bets. Plus, leave a review for the show wherever you get your podcast between now and Belmont Saturday, June 10th, and you'll be entered into a drawing to win a canvas print of the Wolf's one-of-a-kind Ball and Bob painting. It's post time. And we have a bonus contest exclusively on the SGPN app. Winner gets a $100 SGPN gift card.
Also, really quick, SGPN Fantasy Football giving away a free Lamar Jackson jersey in the month of May. Go leave a 5-star review on our Spotify or Apple podcasts, and then DM us your review at SGPN Fantasy on Twitter. You're entered. Simple as that. Drawing takes place May 31st.
All right. And we are back. And if you're still listening, if you wouldn't mind, giving a like, subscribe, a rating, wherever you may be listening, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we'd really, really appreciate it. We'll continue this mock draft here. I'm going to go with the 6th pick. I was really low. I was really sad. And I think it took a lot out of me those first few days, the landing spot. But I'm going to take Zach Charbonnet here. It's not like the other positions, man. Like the tight ends, I like the 1st round draft deal for Dalton Kincaid. Tight end, a notorious position that takes a while to develop. I think there's probably a cheaper price tag you can get him later on. Zay Flowers, it's such a saturated wide receiver position. Do we see him making a huge, huge difference in that Baltimore offense with Rashad Bateman, Odell Beckham Jr., and Mark Andrews, low volume passing? So give me, despite the horrible landing spot, give me Zach Charbonnet, a guy at a running back position that's we needed running backs bad, and this class didn't end up delivering. But Zach Charbonnet, even with that, I mean, are you going to rank him low? And you can't rank him outside RB2 territory still. You know, strong draft capital. Like I said, I have to envision they see him in a role in this offense. Double-digit PPR points, flex upside every week, and then maybe he's an RB1 the weeks that Kenneth Walker misses. You know, you're talking about maybe the best handcuff running back in the NFL at the moment. So that's what Zach Charbonnet is, not what I expected to be drafting at the 1-6. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's hard to disagree. I agree with you that you probably in this spot, you're going back and forth between him and Flowers. And I think you really just go in whatever direction that you're most needy, of course. So I really don't have like a too strong opinion. I would have taken Flowers over him just because while I still I agree with you, there's a lot of competition for touches. I feel like the high range of outcome is you know, when you're playing with Lamar Jackson, you can obviously rise to the top. Charbonnet has just got a very middled situation like that. That's just what I think about it. But they did draft him, obviously, with a fair amount of draft capital. But they did the same thing with Kenneth Walker a year prior. So what does that tell us? Maybe they're not that into Kenneth Walker. Maybe they just really want to shore up a young core on the ground. I'm not sure. But, yeah, I feel like boom or bust, definitely year one. You know, if this team somehow moves on from Kenneth Walker or – you know, he starts getting DeAndre Swift vibes, you know, it could be his backfield in year 2 to 3+. But I think for now, this year, yeah, very middled situation. Like I said, I really don't hate it. In single QB, this is where you're going to be at. So it's kind of difficult to pull some of these other names up ahead of him. If you don't like this pick, if you don't like what we're telling you right now, you got to trade back. Like, try to trade back 3 or 4 picks. Get yourself a little bit more exposure to it, a position that you are a little bit more desperate for, or you feel meets the ADP that you're, you know, actually making your selection at.
Like I said, not what I wanted, but I just don't know. Like I said, Zay Flowers in that like Lamar Jackson. I think the best wide receiver.
Well, let's just go right into him because he's my next pick.
Yeah,
so let's just go right into Zay Flowers, pick 7. Like I was saying, like it's super crowded. Believe me, you went through them, but we got OBJ, we got Mark Andrews. We got now Zay Flowers. We've got Devin Duvernay. They've added Nelson Aguilar. They've got Rashad Bateman. They've got those, you know, 2 running backs in Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. Like, there is going to be a lot of distribution of touches in this offense. So it is not an ideal situation year one. But again, like if I'm having this kind of conviction and draft Johnston this high for a year 2, like that's my gut feeling is that he's going to be a year 2+ or year 3+, like booming type of dynasty asset. I really don't feel that bad about it with Flowers going to Baltimore. We just saw that Lamar's been re-signed. He's going to be there a while. And I think the OBJ situation, I mean, I don't want to predict injuries. I don't like doing it. But that's what's just been consistent, right? Mark Andrews, he was, you know, getting middled in this offense at the end of last year. Obviously, that will change when Lamar comes back. But I do see a range of outcomes where he could be a little bit more than boom or bust this season, but all of the injury dominoes have to fall. If there's a group where I would bet on that to happen, it's the Ravens, because all of these dudes just constantly get hurt. Both those running backs I mentioned got hurt last season. OBJ's been out for over a year. Rashad Bateman was hurt last season. Duvernay is super boom or bust. Bateman was hurt last year. Like, you know, he could just come in and wind up being the healthiest guy for all we know. You know, it's still very early. So I'm not deterred of taking him here. Like, I'm not going to move up a tight end because like Mayer or Kincaid. I like Mayer a lot. I wouldn't move him up to here, even if I'm super desperate at tight end, because I know he's going to be on the field all the time. He's just constantly going to be taking snaps. I would still take Flowers here in this, you know, very, you know, tight group of receivers with Baltimore.
Yeah, you know, it's just my concern. I know he hasn't had a strong wide receiver core, but the best wide receiver finish Lamar Jackson has ever produced for anybody has been a low-end wide receiver to one time with Marquise Brown. Other than that, I mean, he struggled to produce 700-yard wide receivers. So, you know, it's just not.
Do you believe that Flowers is a better prospect, though, than Marquise Brown? Because when Marquise Brown came in,
yeah, that's what I mean.
He was super small. He was tiny. He was like a
12th. He was like the 12th pick in the draft, though. And people still liked him a lot. I think he was a stronger prospect than Zay Flowers, I think, too. But, you know, overall better football player, I think, Marquise Brown. Obviously not quite as big as Zay Flowers, although Zay Flowers is not a big guy himself either. So I think, I think that's the right pick here, but that's why I went with Zach Charbonnet. Is just if you're looking for if you have a deep dynasty league and, you're just like, I need a starter, somebody who's going to get me 10, 12 points a game. Absolutely. I think, but like I said, I just don't see a ceiling outcome. And I see some spike weeks with Zach Charbonnet, maybe potentially if Kenneth Walker misses. So we'll jump into the 8th pick. Kendre Miller will be my pick there. One of the best pure rushers in college football last year, 1,299 rushing yards. Great athlete, didn't get to show it because he was injured, didn't get to do any testing really this offseason. But like I said, I love the talent. I thought he might sneak into round 2, but round 3 draft capital day 2 is just fine. Went to the New Orleans Saints. I don't see an immediate 2023 might not be his year. Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams in the fold, but they could both be moved on by 2024. Alvin Kamara facing suspension. So, I'm going to keep pounding running back here without too many wide receivers that catch my eye. He's a guy who it wouldn't shock me. We're talking about him as a top 20 running back in Dynasty next season when he's taken on that lead role with the New Orleans Saints. Not a strong pass catcher or blocker yet, but that could develop as one of the younger running backs in the class. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't hate it. We just have to see what happens with Alvin Kamara. And I honestly also like Jamal Williams a lot in this offense. So year 1, I don't feel very good about his potential production. Even with Alvin Kamara being gone, let's say he's gone 4 weeks. That's 4 weeks where Kendre Miller is potentially their RB2. This offense still has a lot of weapons in general. They're deeper at receiver. They've got, the weird Taysom Hill situation, obviously. And then Derek Carr, who isn't really a quarterback that you want, throwing the ball a ton. So there is some give and take there, right? There could be a little bit more leniency or upside to their running game. But until I see a domino fall and injury, hey, maybe Mike Thomas isn't ready week 1 somehow again, and they have to start getting more creative and digging into the bag here. But I just think he's kind of buried on the roster right now. I think that the situation could turn to where he's getting more touches and there is more upside for him, but he does feel more like a year 2 type of asset. Like, he's not going to boom until one of these guys walks or this team makes a move. If we saw Alvin Kamara get moved, somehow this offseason, that would be great. I mean, I would be wheels up. I'd probably even be able to take him ahead of Flowers, probably closer to Charbonnet in that instance. But I feel like this is kind of like a sit and wait type of situation. At pick 8, I don't feel bad about it in single QB. I do have some other names I think will be competitive with him. Next guy I have coming off the board is Zach Evans with the Rams. And I just think he has a very clear path to production. Like, do you see him not being able to beat out Cam Akers or Kyrene Williams?
I don't see him beating out Cam Akers. I don't. I'm shocked. I'm shocked by that pick. That is surprise. That is shocking. I that's the first pick I'm like floored by. That's I love it. I love it getting interesting. But it's a 6th round draft capital.
Isaiah Pacheco went in the 7th round, dude. Like six. Listen, running backs in the NFL are not valued. Like, I know we just saw Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan go in the 1st round very early, but that is not the typical protocol for running backs in the NFL right now. They are day 2, day 3 picks, usually at best. The league is not valuing them the same way that they have in the past. And this is a very deep class that we've talked about consistently. Zach Evans, I don't see Cam Akers or Kyrene Williams just completely standing in the way. I don't see that. Cam Akers still coming back from injury. I know that they want to use him a lot, but when has Sean McVay just completely let the wheels fall off of a running back? Todd Gurley? Like, that's the last time he gave a running back just purebred volume. He is going to distribute the ball in this offense. They're not a very deep offense outside of Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, and their defense is getting worse. They're going to be playing from behind. I'm not buying into the Matthew Stafford narrative that he's going to retire, but if he did, this team would be a dumpster fire, and he's definitely getting on the field. That's a fact. That's for sure. If this team is a bottom 5 team in the NFL somehow this year, he is going to play a lot in year 1, and I definitely believe he will be worth round 1, at least single QB ADP in rookie draft.
I didn't even have him slated up to go in the top 24. He would not have been
really
there for me. I did not have him there. Just Zach Evans. I like the kind of like the talent before the draft. I did. He was, I was talking about him a lot, and the 6th-round draft capital. We saw a lot of guys go ahead of him. That's a little bit concerning to me. I've heard speculation he would have been a top 100 pick if it wasn't for a lot of the maturity issues. I heard that he didn't interview very well. I know he interviewed with the Dallas Cowboys apparently, and it was lasted about 15 or 20 minutes, and they apparently did not like what they heard. He's in
a great spot then, because the Rams drafted Jared Goff, and he referenced SpongeBob, I believe, in his player interviews a few times. So I think he's going to be all right.
So yeah, I mean that's maybe why he fell a little bit. I know that he transferred away from TCU. Yeah, like I said, just I just heard about some maturity issues a little bit. So I like the talent. Like I said, I saw Cam Akers coming on a little bit. Finally, a year and a half removed from that Achilles injury, or more than that even. So. Or yeah, about a year and a half. So I finally saw him. I think I was writing some articles. I think he had 4 top 15 running back performances to end the season, or no, 4 straight, 4 out of 5 to end the season. So Cam Akers come on a little bit. I could see him getting in there a little bit. That's an interesting pick. Like I said, I was not expecting you to go that way. With the 10th pick here, maybe somewhere I was more expecting you to go. I am going to go with. It doesn't feel good to take a tight end here. I don't love it, but give me Dalton Kincaid with the Buffalo Bills. It doesn't feel good, but give me the last 1st-round pick left on the board. Like I said, if there's an outlier chance he becomes like the 2nd target in this offense with Josh Allen, I'll take it, even if it's a remote chance. You know what I mean? So Dalton Kincaid has that ability. You squint a little bit, you can see a top 3, top 5 perennial tight end. Route running, downfield ability, not a strong blocker, probably going to play a little bit more outside in the slot area. But Dawson Knox could be moved on from as early as next season. So I like the landing spot. He was the tight end 1 in the draft class, so I'll buy in with the Buffalo Bills here. I know it's not very exciting. Would you take a tight end this early?
No, my tight end approach in this draft is let somebody take Kincaid, and then I'll take Mayer appropriately after. Like, I just don't agree with the assessment of these NFL GMs, specifically the Bills pole vaulting Kincaid over Mayer. And again, like, I don't know where this is coming from. You and I've talked about this a couple of times. Him being the 2nd best target in the Bills offense as a rookie tight end, I don't buy it. No, thank you. No, thank you. I love their receiver group. It's a very deep group. They already have Dawson Knox, who's going to be on the field more so because he can block. And this team, sets Josh Allen up for some direct runs, not as much as, some of the other running QBs in this league, like Jalen Hurts or Justin Fields, but he's going to run the ball and they're going to want to protect him. So while, yeah, Kincaid could come in, get himself drawn up for, maybe even 5 to 6 touchdowns as a rookie, I still don't believe that he is worth this draft stock this early as a tight end. I just don't buy it. And to me, he doesn't have booming potential until year 2 anyways. Until Dawson Knox does leave, until they are completely removed from the free agent market or whatever, the wide receiver market in general, because I still believe that they're trying to add themselves a DeAndre Hopkins or maybe another asset at the running back position, as you see names like Dalvin Cook still readily available on the market, right? Like, I have to believe that they could be potentially in the market for another big piece this offseason still. So I am not buying Dalton Kincaid year 1. Year 2, I think this could definitely be, or he could be a bigger part of the offense. But no, as far as tight end, I'll let somebody else take the top guy. I'll, let the ADP game, come my way with the next tight end.
Where are you headed with the 11th pick? Take a swig with that energy drink before you do. Get fueled up.
I'm between 2 players. Let's go with Jalen Hyatt. Screw it. I was going to go with a running back. Let's go with Jalen Hyatt.
You are shocking me with these picks. I love it. Spicy. Give me why.
I'm not a big Giants guy, but I just think that Jalen Hyatt, I think that he fits what they want to do the best. With his straight line speed, I feel like he can be a big asset in that offense. Obviously, they have a lot of speedsters. In a Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, maybe a lower A-dot guy, but obviously still perceived to have a role in this offense. Who is the other one that they added? Was it Jamison Crowder? lot of these names are underwhelming. Like, it doesn't feel like he's going to have a ton of competition. Obviously, like I said, he's got speed, but he has, some decent hands, some route running skills. I just think in this offense, they're looking for a great field breaker, and he could be that guy for them. Again, a lot of these other names that he's going to have to compete with, they feel a little bit more underwhelming. So while I feel like Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, their experience may make them a week 1 starter, Jalen Hyatt feels like he could be someone that comes in and he is a consistent starter year 1 for the second half of the season. Because I'll say it again, this group just feels underwhelming, and they're looking for that game breaker, and he feels like he could be that for them. Dangerous in space, and I think Dable will draw him up as such.
Like I said, I thought it was interesting because I have a lot of I do a lot of work and now analyzing these prospects before the draft. However, when the draft does settle, I factor in a lot of draft capital. So there was 5 or 6 wide receivers taken ahead of Jalen Hyatt, and I have to consider why the NFL did that. Maybe Jalen Hyatt, they see him as that one-trick pony, more of just a burner. So what does that mean for fantasy? Maybe he's a better NFL player. He's going to stretch the defense, maybe not a consistent fantasy contributor. And that's kind of how I see it. So he would have been a round 2 pick for me. But you know what? Here's where I'm going to get fun with this draft. I just don't see who is going to make this huge difference for my fantasy team other than one man. I'm going with Anthony Richardson here. I know I was talking about taking him with the second pick before, but I am taking Anthony Richardson to finish off this first round. I just don't see, any other running backs or wide receivers or tight ends who, like I said, Anthony Richardson, I know we devalue quarterbacks in one quarterback formats, but Anthony Richardson is the type of guy who makes a difference in one quarterback formats. This is a guy you do covet in one quarterback formats. He has that outlier outcome of being a top 5, top 10 perennial quarterback. And, really anytime he steps on the field with that rushing ability, passing, a long way to go. But give me the upside, somebody who could be a difference-making quarterback in a kind of in the settings where that's hard to find exactly. So I like that pick here. Where do you think? Where would have Anthony Richardson fallen in your rankings?
I have no problem with it here at this turn. Probably, well, I guess, what am I talking about? Turn snake draft. Probably somewhere in that like 111 to 2-2 window, I think is just fine for him. We've had this discussion before. If you're a needy drafter for a quarterback in a single QB, Anthony Richardson's the guy to target just based on the potential highest outcomes. If there's going to be one of these guys that's just going to implode with production, Anthony Richardson feels like that guy. So while you may feel like you're exposing yourself to a little bit more risk, I do feel like he is the guy that could boom the highest of him, Stroud, and Bryce Young. So don't hate it whatsoever, but don't expect me to go on a quarterback run here.
Yeah, I think that's it. That'll be it for me in this round. I can go and preview that for you. Where are you headed with this first pick in the second round?
Oh, let's see. Let's go with Devin Achane.
Okay, that finally, I thought that was the clear pick, but I was like, is he going to shock me again?
I mean, you may have thought it was a clearer pick before, going ahead of guys like Zach Evans or Jalen Hyatt. While the Dolphins are a very fast team, I'm just kind of confused how he'll fit into this group. They're deep at running back. They're going to use Mostert. They're going to use Jeff Wilson. They traded for Jeff Wilson last season and then re-signed him. So not only did they give up a draft pick for him, they also gave him more money. All these guys are going to get used in this offense. What I really like about this offense is that we saw that the tight end just doesn't need to be used like whatsoever, right? Other than knob gobbling some touchdowns. I just don't know if Devin Achane is going to get a lot of touchdowns in year 1 through 3. I just don't know how he's going to be used. He's very fast. He could be a very friendly PPR target for Tua Tagovailoa out of that backfield, but I got to see what Big Mike's got drawn up. And so I just have a little bit more reservation on him. While he is fast, may not have the best size, right? He could take a one bad hit, in a style of offense where they're trying to draw him up in space. And again, I'm not going to deter away from him, but as far as like ADP goes, he just slips a little bit for me because, until I start seeing maybe some of the, the hype videos, some of the hype TikToks, I just feel a little bit more reserved because I feel like this offense is going to move the ball around to all of its targets.
Yeah, I could see that. I thought this, if you were hand picking a spot, and we'll jump into your question in 2 seconds, Michael, right after I do this. If you were hand picking a spot for A Chain where he can maximize his likely role of 10 to 15 touches per game, it would be the Miami Dolphins. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. He's not going to get a lot of attention. Single coverage out there in space with that kind of track athlete. Like I said, if you were hand picking a destination for A Chain, it would have been the Miami Dolphins. 188 pounds, doesn't project to have a big workload. But like I said, I think he's going to have some big weeks. Might have, like, in that kind of role, going to have some down week, going to have to be very efficient in his touches to be fantasy productive. So going to have some big up and down weeks. But somebody I could see being a flex contributor, one of those guys, one of those running backs, kind of like, not necessarily he's a size comp like a Chris Thompson or somebody like that, but somebody who does that, kind of sneaks in there, kind of a flex upside a lot of weeks. So that's kind of what I see in his range of outcomes. But we'll jump over to Michael Esri's question. Thank you for joining us today, Michael. Do I trade Mahomes, Waddle, and Pacheco for Burrow, Bryce Young, Eckler, Mixon, and Waddle? Oh, this always take me a second to really, and this is quite a
redraft.
question. Redraft.
How are you already trading in redraft, brother?
Oh, I guess they do early drafts. I mean, these guys are itching to draft. You know what I mean? And I would advise you to do a dynasty league if you're so hot. If you're in it right now, man, you ought to be doing dynasty leagues. But redraft this early, that's fine. Well, man, this is definitely. I
wouldn't do this trade, to be honest with you.
No, definitely.
I wouldn't.
Not. Especially in a super.
Not for redraft. If it was dynasty, I'd say wheels up, but I would not do this for redraft. No, I mean, if you drafted Mahomes, you obviously had to spend more capital on him than Burrow, and all you're getting back is a quarterback that you're probably not going to use. Well, I guess he did say it's super flex. So
I mean, actually, I didn't see Burrow because he's capitalized. I actually might make this trade. Burrow and Mahomes. There's going to be a little bit of a difference there, but not a huge difference. Then you have,
I still like Mahomes a little bit of rushing upside a little bit more.
And then Jalen Waddle and then you have Eckler and Mixon, let's say, for Jalen Waddle, and then you get Waller for Pacheco. Yeah, I mean, okay, I like it. I'd make in redraft, I'd make that trade. In dynasty, I'm the opposite of you. In no way I would make that trade in dynasty. Give me Mahomes, Waddle, that combo there over the aging running backs. But in redraft, I'd make that trade. The running backs may give you a little more upside this season.
Yeah, I just don't know what's going on with Mixon yet, really, or Eckler. I mean, if Eckler, if I knew if those situations were more concrete, I'd feel better about it. But I'm holding. Emerson says go ahead, so go ask your mom to settle the debate for us.
All right, well, jump back into the rookie draft here. I'm going to go Roschon Johnson at the second pick here. Your new running back for the Chicago Bears. I thought I was holding out hope he was going to get day 2 draft capital. Didn't happen, but ended up one of the first picks on day 3. Does everything very well, I think. Played behind Bijan Robinson, but like I said, very strong frame, breaks tackles, smart, with great vision, good pass blocker. So I think he does a lot of things to get on the field early. Khalil Herbert, Deontay Foreman are there, but if you didn't like this landing spot, I mean, there's running backs at every single, there's going to be running backs everywhere, you know what I mean, like to compete with. So Chicago Bears backfield is a lot less intimidating than other backfields. So I like the landing spot. Somebody I could see commanding a large role early on. I think I could see him in tandem with Khalil Herbert. So I like it here. And somebody, I like Roschon Johnson a lot before the draft. A little disappointed in the draft capital, but what are your thoughts?
I've taken him as high as 111. So I'm very high on him. I just don't want to bang the drum a little bit too loud because I love his round 3 availability right now in rookie draft. So I definitely want to tone down a little bit of the hype. Like I said, I took him at 111.
Selfish. You're trying to drive down his price by not taking him in these ranks. Oh my goodness!
It's called insider trading, bud. That's how the world operates. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, pal. All right. Sometimes you got to fiddle the market a little bit, shake things up in your favor. No, like I said, I took him at 111 in a 20-team draft, and I did that because it was my only pick through 40 picks of 2 rounds in a 20-team draft. So he feels like he offers a very safe career floor. While year 1, he may not look like the most appetizing asset because he's, middled between Deontay Foreman and Khalil Herbert. There are many, including myself, that believe he can just literally work his way to the top of this group. Just plain old take the job over by week 6. because he's a great pass blocker, because he can pass catch out of the backfield. He has a little bit of what both Foreman and Herbert can both do. Obviously, just a little bit more raw. Come in, get the NFL body in shape, get down that playbook. And it feels like, and again, I'm not alone here, he could just take this job by week 6 or week 7. They were looking to spend some later round capital on a running back. I was very, very happy that it was Roshan. While Herbert and Foreman are still there, they could cause some problems earlier on. Comparing him to the two, Herbert, when getting volume, has looked good. Like when he gets 18 plus touches, I think 4 out of the 5 times he's done it, he's hit over 100 all-purpose yards and has gathered at least a touchdown. So he looks good, and I think the Bears want to see what they have in him still coming back from the injury. But coming back from the injury, Donta Foreman being another year older, it feels like a good recipe for Roshan to just take over this group. If he doesn't, then he's going to be boom or bust all year 1. But he is definitely someone you want as a year 2 asset. Year 2, year 3, it should be his backfield, in my opinion.
I like that. Especially I drafted him a lot in my dynasty leagues this week. So one of my favorite guys. Where are you headed with the third pick in this second round?
Third pick. Get my order back up here. We're going to go Jonathan Mingo.
Okay.
Jonathan Mingo now of the Carolina Panthers. Sorry, I'm just writing these down. Got a great frame, 6'2", 220. While he does have a crowded group around him, this also feels like a group where the cream can rise to the top here. I mean, DJ Chark just been absolutely enamored with injuries his entire career. Adam Thielen, old as hell. Shi Smith, not really too worried. Terrace Marshall, not really too worried about it. Hayden Hurst coming in, not too worried about it. Like there feels like there is a path for production in year 1. I don't think that the writing is like so clearly on the wall written that that's going to be the case. But, coming in with his frame, high draft capital, pick 39, feels like a way that you want to back up your investment in your top quarterback and Bryce Young. Although they're talking about Andy Dalton starting week 1. I don't know what that's all about.
That's fake news. They're trying to motivate their rookie quarterback.
I don't like coach talk at all. Me and coach talk do not get along. But you know what I mean? Like, it feels like that type of early draft capital could just put him on the field right away. Like, I just mentioned all these guys that are going to be there ahead of him. Terrace Marshall's been there a while. He's been in the system. So my assumption is that he would be a starter. Adam Thielen would be a starter, and DJ Chark would be a starter. But this draft capital, I just feels like it indicates there's a shot. He's on the field first play week 1.
Yes, I believe he will be. Jonathan Mingo was not a player I was on before the draft. I expected him to be on day 3. I expected it to be a round 4 pick. Jonathan Mingo, not a strong college production, but if you squint really, really, really hard on Jonathan Mingo, you can see a George Pickens type player. Big frame, alpha mentality.
If you squint really hard, is that what you said?
Yes, exactly. If you can see George Pickens. Yes, you know what I mean. If I take off my glasses, maybe it's real blurry, but so like I said,
I see better with the shady rays on.
Great ball tracker, deep threat. I like. There's some things I like, and I'm willing to rethink my pre-draft process. Like I said, when I listen to NFL, the guys making millions of bucks, they took him very early on in round 2. So yeah, I see him. I like the potential. So that would have been. He would have been my next pick at the 2-4, but I would have taken my next player ahead of him, and I would have been the only one though. I am going to take. I'm going to end the fall on Michael Mayer. I'm going to go ahead and take a lot of people's tight end 1 in the class. He did go to I think the 4th or 5th pick in the second round to the Las Vegas Raiders. He was the 3rd tight end selected behind Sam Laporta, though. Okay, one piece of information for you. You were kind of shocked by why Michael Mayer is not the tight end 1 in this class. So, would it shock you if I told you that Player Profiler, one of the companies I work for, they do fantastic stuff. They give athletic scores for all these players, and they size adjust it, and they rank them all time. So at 6'5" and 249 pounds with a 4.70 40-yard dash and 102.9 speed score, would it shock you if I told you that Michael Mayer, out of 466 tight ends all time in this database, he ranks 464 athletic rank, the 3rd worst all-time athletic rank for a tight end. So this
because he's big, because it's compared with his size, right?
Well, I mean, yeah. So it's factoring in his size, though. It's kind of size adjusted.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So
yeah, exactly.
all right. I see that the numbers aren't so friendly for him. I'm assuming that the Raiders had that information and they still spent a high second round pick on him. Like his draft capital was going to be high based off of his production. I mean, what does that have to do with him being a blocker? Because blocking is what's going to put him on the field every single down. Oh, who are the tight ends there? OJ Howard. Who's the other one? It's going to drive me crazy.
We talking
with the
about
Raiders.
With the Raiders.
Austin Hooper and OJ Howard. Yeah. Big threats to take Michael Mayer off the field. Dawson Knox over Dalton Kincaid. Like there's a clear separation of utility there between the two. Kincaid will hit the seam. Knox needs to get low A dot or block. Like it's just that simple, right? Michael Mayer is going to be on the field a lot and going to have a ton of utility because he blocks. And he's one of the best blocking tight ends to come out of college in a while. Like he looks like a damn video game character. I don't care what anybody says. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Are you excited about it though? Year one? No, you got Jimmy Garoppolo there. You're waiting for the Raiders to, level up at QB. And when that happens, people are going to be looking at Michael Mayer like, it's the second coming of Cole Kmet a couple of years ago. Like everyone was losing their minds with Cole Kmet that he's going to be this, crazy, insane tight end asset. Look what happened to him.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think this is what some of the trepidation was. I was listening to Matt Kelly this week, and apparently the Dallas Cowboys rumor is that they like to check out player profiling. So, that they have a lot of athletic scores on there. So maybe that scared them off a little bit. You look at the top 5 or 6 tight ends perennial, though, you look at that group, better athletes usually than Michael Mayer. So my worry is, are you getting a guy with maybe a top 10 ceiling, which is not saying a lot for the tight end position? Is he going to be just one of those guys? You know what I mean? He's not in that elite tier, but you start him. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of maybe why
he'll have more touchdowns this season than Devin Achane.
That's probably true. Like I said, Michael Mayer, I do like the value a lot here, but maybe why he's not a first-round pick in these rookie drafts. With that, where are you headed with the 5th pick in the second round?
Screw QBs. Let's go Tank Bigsby.
I like that.
I like Tank a lot. I think a lot of these running backs are going to, or not a lot of them, the back end running backs are going to get more usage than people think for the Jaguars. Tank Bigsby, Dearness Johnson. Obviously, they went out and signed Dearness Johnson in the offseason. Now they draft Tank Bigsby. Peterson has spoken about wanting to use multiple backs in this system. And I feel like the team's just going to be more pass heavy anyway. So what I'm hoping happens is that Tank can actually take a little bit more of the workload as far as putting the ball on the ground, and they can start feeding ETN maybe more in the passing game. That's my hope for the 1-2 split here. I assume that Tank is going to be able to get that second spot. Do you agree with that over Dearness Johnson?
Yeah, I think he's going to be the second spot, but
okay.
Which, once again, I think this was a less attractive Zach Charbonnet situation a little bit. I love the handcuff value. Not sure it's a lot of standalone value, especially without passing game upside like Zach Charbonnet has. So, I don't think he's going to be a liability on third down. So, he'll get some early down work, but he'll be probably touchdown dependent, I think, early on.
No, that's what I like about him, though, is that I think that he could be their red zone guy. And the only threat to that, to me, is Dearness Johnson. It's not even Travis Etienne because of his frame, right? Like when you look at him, he looks almost like a built up slot receiver in the backfield, right? Like he should be catching more passes back there. My hope is that Tank comes in and takes that workload off of him so that he can just be that guy. And hopefully that would mean that Tank's getting more opportunities for touchdowns. And the dude's name is Tank, and he's going to be taking red zone carries. Like what more can you want?
I like it. Just slam down on those day 2 draft cap. Don't look. Just slam down on those day 2 draft capital running backs, even regardless of situation. So with the 6th pick here, though, I'm ready to get hurt again. Give me Rashee Rice. I didn't have him anywhere. I didn't have him up here anywhere close to up here before the draft, but
that's a pull up for sure.
Landing spot with the Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs go.
You told us 7 days ago not to fall for it again, Emerson.
I know, but this is where you take him. You don't fall for it at the first round where Sky Moore My dogs are getting restless if you're hearing them shake around.
Fair.
You don't take him in the first
point.
round like you did Sky Moore, but here in the middle of the second, this is where you take your shot. I know there's a couple guys went ahead. There's a couple guys I like the talent more, but once again, I'm willing to maybe bet that I'm wrong. The Chiefs are due for a hit here. They missed on Sky Moore. Maybe miss is a strong word. Sky Moore didn't show us a lot last season. McCole Hardman missed. Demarcus Robinson missed. Just a lot of round 2, round 3 wide receivers that haven't panned out. Rashee Rice, a little bit bigger than some of these guys in this class, does a lot of the things well, not a supreme athlete or anything like that, but somebody, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, not a lot of attractive options at wide receiver paired with Mahomes for the long term. I'm willing to take a shot in the mid-second round.
Yeah, I don't hate it whatsoever. You're getting potential exposure to the best QB. If he comes in and wins the wide receiver room, it's going to be a great situation. I'm just going to feel really bad for people expecting, Rashee Rice or Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, and everybody's feelings are going to be super butthurt when it winds up being Richie James and MVS. Like, golly, that's going to hurt. That's going to be a fall from heaven.
I mean, is that maybe the likely outcome? Sure, but we're taking gambles here in the mid-second round here, and yeah, like Mike Robb said here, somebody might do it. You're right. I've seen him actually in the second round in most of my drafts. For people who are tired of getting screwed over by the Kansas City Chiefs fantasy players. So I have seen him in a lot of the second round, although that I do play in super flex leagues though. So maybe in one quarterback, you could be right. He's definitely pushing probably first round in a lot of one quarterback leagues. So with the 2-7, where are you headed?
Great call there, Mike, too. Your mother raised you right. I love it. Let's go Tajay Spears. I don't love it, but, backing up Derrick Henry, they need some speed out of the backfield. Feels just like the cheaper version of Devin A-Chain at this point. While you may not feel as comfortable about how they're going to use him in the offense early on, I just feel like they need a little bit more speed and a little bit more gadgetry out of this backfield right now. And Derrick Henry is going to knob gobble all those touches. Do you think that Hassan Haskins is going to be kind of a roadblock, or do you see Spears coming in and kind of like just being the guy over him? I feel like Haskins didn't really do enough for me in year one to say like, oh yeah, roadblock, big issue for Spears.
I have a level different profile for Tajay Spears. I don't see a lot of, I compare him to kind of Devin Singletary. He doesn't have a very smart, very good football player.
That Devin Singletary had like the highest explosive rate last season.
That's interesting. I didn't know that, but that's why we bring you on for those interesting facts.
I stole that from Andrew Robb. I can't take credit for that. That's my co-host on my other show. That's not my bit. That's his bit.
Devin Singletary, he has some bursts. That's the same thing with Tajay Spears. It does not have top line speed. Not an overall great athlete. I love the day 2 draft capital. I think this is a good landing spot. Derrick Henry is 29 years old. Derrick Henry is going to get a heavy workload this season too. That combination makes him very prone to injury. And any time that he misses injury, I think, Tajay Spears could be a plug and play, like RB2 flex play. I've heard, there's recent speculation he doesn't have an ACL in one of his legs, coming off 2 significant knee injuries already in his career. So those are some concerns. I don't see Tajay Spears playing in this league 4 or 5 years down the line as a Tennessee starter. But I do see.
Save the receipts, y'all.
It's hard to see a guy with running back short careers. This guy is an older prospect with aging knees already. I do think, for the next couple seasons, though, for the next few seasons, you could get some fantasy value out of him, though. So I like the pick here. Keep drafting those day 2 running backs. This pick's getting a little tough for me here. We're kind of getting close to a tier break here. I'm going to go with one of the players. No, I'm not in this non-one quarterback leagues. I'm going to go with Marvin Mims. I really liked him in the pre-draft process. Last pick in the second round. Really impressive at the NFL combines. Really stood out. 96th percentile breakout age. Plays inside, plays outside. Very good athlete. Great deep threat downfield. Have a season with over 20 yards per reception. So, very dangerous. I expect this Broncos offense to get better. I think he naturally pairs better with Cortland Sutton, but Jerry Jeudy, probably, I could see those guys coexisting as well. I expect Russell Wilson to get better. So Marvin Mims was somebody who I was ranking as my wide receiver I was going back and forth between wide receiver 4 and 5 in the pre-draft process. Falls a little bit, but I really like the talent here a lot.
Not a bad situation. I'm interested to see what Sean Payton can do with him for sure. It's a wait and see type of situation, though. I mean, you have 3 guys ahead of him clearly on the depth chart, and Tim Patrick, Sutton, and Judy.
Tim Patrick, I'm not sure about.
I think they're very, very excited about Tim Patrick. You think he's just going to get cut?
Not get cut, but coming off an ACL injury, I like the talent.
They're just banging the drum for Tim Patrick to come back. I fully expect him, as long as he's healthy week 1, he's going to either be a starter or still be ahead of Marvin Mims in the pecking order here. I do believe, because of Patrick's history, Sutton's injury history, even Judy's been banged up since he's been coming into the league, missing a handful of games here and there. That's why I like the situation, is because I do think that outside of his potential just to be better than these guys and like just healthy, like without needing them to fall before he can go up, there is that potential there, because these guys are just so riddled with their injury history. So I don't hate the scenario here, but I do believe that those 3 are still going to be firmly ahead of him when healthy. So it feels like, more of like a second half year 1 type of situation, because I would expect one of those guys to get hurt. And don't be surprised about Greg Dulcich taking a step forward either in a Sean Payton led offense. So I think that there's a lot of mouths to feed in this offense.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a little bit concern. Definitely target volume, especially if Russ isn't going to pass very much. What is your pick for the 2-9? We are just getting to our last few picks here.
I'm going to try not to take a QB. I like Chase Brown a lot. Let's ride with Chase Brown. I think it's a good situation in Cincinnati. I know that folks are a little bit excited because, Joe Mixon, he could get suspended. There's talk that they may move him. I think he's going to be back there, but that doesn't mean that Chase Brown can't have a nice role in this offense that has just used multiple running backs over and over and time again under Zach Taylor. It's not really a concern for me as long as he's the number 2 there, number 2 guy there behind Joe Mixon. I think that there is potential for some considerable year 1 breakout production. I think the name and the draft stock is what's going to get him to slip a little bit more so on the ADP, on the dynasty boards. Playing at University of Illinois doesn't have as much of a comparative profile with the stats compared to some of these other guys. But like I said, I like him a lot. I think he's going to be used in this offense, specifically in the red zone. Could see him even as a 3rd down back. I don't see Samaje Perine leaving and Chase Brown coming in Chase Brown being drafted and coming in as an indicator that, Joe Mixon is going to be Mr. 25 touches a game again. I think that we're, getting farther and farther away from those years. And I think Chase Brown's going to have some upside in this offense.
Great athlete. Yeah. Coming off a great year in the Big Ten too. Very productive college career against some strong defenses, took on a very heavy workload, so he can be a workhorse. Samaje Perine outsnapped Joe Mixon in 2 of 3 playoff games last year. So Chase Brown, certainly somebody who could get some early playing time. And Joe Mixon has not been the most durable guy throughout. He's been banged up throughout his career too. So we could see Chase Brown get on the field early. So I like the landing spot a lot as well. With my second to last pick, I'm going to go with Sam Laporta. He's the 2nd tight end drafted, 34th overall to the Detroit Lions, stepping into a very prominent role potential. Sam Laporta was a guy I liked a lot. I had him ranked as my tight end 3 in the pre-draft process as well. Detroit Lions liked him a lot too. Very good in open space. He sheds off tackles. Like I said, I like the prospect a lot. Very productive at Iowa. I think he's had 3 straight seasons of over 20% target share, over 650 receiving yards the last 2 seasons. My big concern is he kind of is, and he's a move tight end is like what they call it now. I believe it's that kind of, he's a smaller tight end, not a traditional player. He's not going to be stepping in at the NFL level and doing a lot of inline blocking. That Evan Ingram profile has not yielded great fantasy results recently. So the concern is maybe he's going to have his moments throughout the game where he's called upon 4 or 5 times, but maybe just not a consistent fantasy contributor. But I think right here is a perfect place to take him, considering that strong draft capital too, and not a lot of competition for targets at the tight end position. The Detroit Lions offense is very talented, but he could be a red zone threat right away.
Yeah, there's really nothing to dislike about the situation for him. He just needs to check the boxes really for the Lions, and I think he will. I think that to start the season, he's going to be very boom or bust. And I know that sounds kind of funny because Jameson Williams is going to be gone, like the first 6 games. So some might say, oh, well, that should mean a bigger role early on. I just don't think that's the case for rookie tight ends. I think it takes a little bit of time to get acclimated. Obviously there's a learning curve just in year 1 overall. So I think that he could not be a nice little piece for dynasty owners down the stretch of next season and into year 2, as are most rookie tight ends, right? Like that's typically the case here, but there's no competition whatsoever. He has a very, very clear path to being a starter, really not that dissimilar to Michael Mayer. I'm just a lot higher on Michael Mayer as just an overall asset. He's just more sure-handed, right? But I think Laporta is going to be in a very good situation. It doesn't feel like he's going to get middled. Like he just feels like he could be a starter there for the next 4 or 5 years, easy. So I have no objections to this pick whatsoever.
Your last pick, my friend.
I was going to cop out with the QB, but we'll go with something sexier. Give me Deuce Vaughn, baby. Give me some Deuce Vaughn action for the Dallas Cowboys. Definitely someone you're going to see go later, in Superflex, IDP formats, whatever. Probably, more applicably a round 3 prospect in the majority of formats. But I like the opportunity quite a bit here. Playing behind Tony Pollard. Rojo is the only other competitor for touches. Ronald Jones, come on. Like, you can't tell me you're a little bit excited about some Deuce Vaughn for this upcoming season. If there is a potential like CMC, the next CMC looming, somewhere buried in this group, he could be it. I mean, obviously Bijan's probably the lowest hanging fruit there, but just looking at his size, the way that he, can use his speed, he's got sure hands. Like, he's not going to run anybody over by any means. I guess I should say that. I mean, CMC can run some people over. The dude's like fucking stacked.
You got to stop using those 2 names together. You have to stop using those 2 names together. CMC and Deuce Vaughn.
You don't like it?
Oh my God, that is
some and one mixtape.
That is another level compared. Hey, I mean, he's so exciting to watch. Oh my God, I mean, just putting those 2 names, that's tough. He's the shortest player to ever be measured at the NFL Combine.
Shortest. His dad is the scout for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, this is T-ball all over again, man. They're gonna flood this kid with touches.
Oh my God,
it's gonna be a great story.
It's, I mean, he's like what? I mean, Darren Sproles isn't even an accurate comparison because Darren Sproles was so much larger than Deuce Vaughn. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like he's such an outlier size wise. You don't often get a $1,900 all-purpose yard player available here. Very, very good player, pass catching and rusher. I mean, he's very explosive. He took on
what's his size comp to Tariq Cohen? RB1 his rookie season, no big deal.
Let's see how Tariq Cohen. Let's look how big Tariq Cohen is. I forgot about Tariq Cohen a little bit. I know as a Bears fan, you didn't though.
It's hard to forget about him. Yeah, it's hard to forget. But yeah, RB1 is rookie season, no big deal.
Right.
Completely undersized.
Yeah, he
probably drafted in round 4+.
All right, so let's look here. I have him pulled up, and now I'm going to pull up Deuce Vaughn on Player Profiler here and get all their measurements. I love Deuce Vaughn, but man, I like the pick even, but when you started throwing around that Christian McCaffrey, I couldn't. So Tariq Cohen is 5'6", 179 pounds, and yeah, I mean it's very similar. Deuce Vaughn is 5'5", 179 pounds. So I mean he even has a slightly higher, same weight. So he actually has a slightly higher BMI than Tariq Cohen does.
Wow, that's crazy. And Matt Nagy, of all people, was able to make Tariq Cohen an RB1 in fantasy as a rookie.
It was a freak season, though. You know, everything had to go right for that to happen.
So in the range of outcomes for Deuce Vaughn to be the next CMC, I need one player to get hurt who's coming back from an injury, Tony Pollard, to get flooded potentially with just insane amount of usage.
He cannot handle an insane amount of usage. There's no way.
Okay, so maybe insane usage shouldn't be the word. Maybe impeccable. There it is. I got it out there. Impeccable efficiency per touch.
I'm glad. I'm glad. These a lot of these drafts get just chalky. I'm glad. This was interesting. I love it. You have some very
Well, I
interesting
could have
picks.
taking CJ Stroud and just been like, oh yeah, safest
Yeah,
floor at the
I love it.
quarterback position.
I'm not doing that either. I'm going to finish off with the last pick in this draft with Jaden Reed. Not another guy. I didn't quite get the draft capital. There was like three of them, like not Marvin Mims, Rashi Rice, Jonathan Mingo, and Jaden Reed. Guys, I did not expect to go as early as they did in round 2. But Jaden Reed was very impressive at the Senior Bowl. Good, not supreme athlete. Tall, has some length to him. Not a super physical wide receiver though. So has a lot of things that you like, just don't love. Like I said, he was a big riser during the Senior Bowl, and I'm leaning on draft capital here, getting around 2 wide receivers still. So obviously Green Bay really liked him a lot. I don't necessarily see a huge upside with Jordan Love at quarterback and the second target behind Christian Watson. But, he's somebody who slides in probably as a top 50, 60 dynasty wide receiver, somewhere in that range. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just lean on the draft capital here. And, yeah, this is solid value for a mid-second round pick.
Terrible year 1 production inbound. Terrible year 1 production inbound.
I believe it. Yeah,
I mean, I think you want to buy this guy. I think you want to buy Reed. Right, either maybe like in your playoffs next year, sometime before the draft, like right before the season ends, because the Packers are going to be so bad, they're going to get Caleb Williams next year, and this dude and Watson's stock are going to go through the roof as long as Reed stays on the field and is what they say he is, right? Like if they don't have to go out shopping for another receiver. But yeah, Dubes, Watson, Reed, stocks down this year 1. They tank and they get that number 1 pick, Caleb Williams. You'll be definitely coming back for these guys on the cheap, on the discount.
Well, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this more interesting rookie mock, not very chalky rookie mock draft today. Like I said, you can scroll through the comments and read some of those picks. The last pick was Jaden Reed. I kind of messed it up there a little bit, but yeah. I will save everyone the trouble. Maybe we can go back a little later. I'll type it out in the comments or something, but I won't rattle off all 24 picks to end here. But, thank you so much, Justin, for joining me. Thank you for listening, everyone. Anything going on exciting this week the viewers should know about on SGPN, Justin?
Yeah, go leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify podcasts. We're giving away a Lamar Jackson jersey this month. So all you have to do, go leave a 5-star review, Apple or Spotify podcast, SGPN Fantasy Football. DM us your review on Twitter at SGPN Fantasy. You're done. You're entered. That's it. Drawing is May 31st. Let's ride.
And I'll tell you, you'd be shocked at how many people, they're like, they're still not going to do that. So, your odds of winning the Lamar Jackson jersey, pretty high, actually. I promise you.
Pretty high.
You have a pretty good chance of winning that jersey if you actually leave the review. So please do that. And yes, thank you for joining us, everybody. You can find me, pretty much everywhere. Of course, back here with SGPN every Sunday, article every week as well. TWSN, Player Profiler, Face Off Sports Network. Shout out to all of them as well. Have a great rest of your Sunday, everyone, and thank you so much.